What is up, my true crime people? My name is Rosendo. This is my channel Sci-Fi Rose, where I discuss the books I have read recently, give a little bit of my insight on what I think about them, and hope to pass on that information so that you can make a sound judgment on whether or not you want to read it or discuss this book further, which I would appreciate if we could do that either in the comment section or through email. But anyways, today I'm happy to say that I finally finished The Life and Crimes of Richard Ramirez, The Night Stalker by Carlo. You know, this book was a fantastic true crime read. I don't know if it could be any wilder of a story than what Richard Ramirez was able to do in his lifetime with regards to the crimes he committed. Carlo was able to really become impassioned in what he was writing, as well as show the passion with all the characters involved. And there was a lot of people that were impassioned, whether it was in a good way or a bad way. The way the book was set up was interesting. It was set up in 3 parts. First part was basically his serial killing spree. The second part was his childhood and adulthood, and basically what led him to the way he was and what he was able to do. And the third part was the trial itself. I have to tell you, this book isn't for the faint of heart. Carlo did a really good job in researching the information he put into this book. You could tell that he spent a lot of time with all people involved. That said, the details are that. He goes into detail on what Richard Ramirez was doing, what he was thinking, and how he accomplished those things. He also discussed a lot of what people were going through, whether it was the victims, the families and friends of the victims, and just like with Charles Manson, there was people that really adored Richard Ramirez, that really felt bad for him, and that in a sense had some type of love for him. In regards to his writing style, Carlo did a wonderful job, as I said earlier, with the research. You could tell that he wrote with a lot of passion and wanted to get the information out there for people. I wouldn't say it's a super sophisticated way of his writing style, but you could tell that he had passion for what he was writing about and how he wrote it. And since I just read American Predator regarding the serial killer Israel Keyes, that's kind of what I would like to compare this book to. Now, this was a very detailed book on what he did. So it's very gory. It can be because of the crimes he committed and the fact that Carlo included it in the descriptions in the book. Whereas with Israel Keyes, it was a little bit different story. It was more of trying to capture that person, right? This was a little bit different. I don't want to give too much if you haven't read American Predator either, so we'll leave that at this point. What I will say is, if you are wanting to compare, if you've read one or the other, American Predator is a much more lighter true crime story, at least the way the author wrote it. Whereas with Carlo and The Night Stalker, it was very descriptive. So if you haven't read either one and you're not sure what you're able to handle, I would start off with American Predator and then move on to something like The Night Stalker by Carlo, because it's detailed and I appreciate the details. I don't know if every reader would. So that's just going to be a point of view based on the reader himself. I will say that each part was very interesting and intriguing. Carlo threw you right into the guts of the story of who the Night Stalker is in that first part. So from the beginning, you are deep into the psyche of Richard Ramirez, how he's thinking, what he's thinking about, why he's doing things. You're thrown in immediately, and it captivates you. And so from that point, you want to read the rest of the book. The second part slows down. You talk about his childhood and his adulthood and what kind of led him to the point of becoming who we all know him for, as this monster that went on a killing spree. And in the third part of the trial, where they go back and discuss the details of what happens. So you are reminded of what you read in the first part, and also how people take that in, being people that never heard it, as well as how they perceive Richard Ramirez. It also includes an epilogue, which I thought was a nice way to finish the book. At the end of the epilogue, there is a dialogue between Carlo and Richard Ramirez. So it's nice to see the back and forth discussion that they had during those, I think, 3 weeks of interviews that Carlo did with Richard Ramirez. It's nice to see what they discuss and what Richard Ramirez was thinking, or how he thinks, more or less, based on just the topics that Carlo brings up. So that wraps up what I think about this book. I highly recommend it. I found it incredibly interesting for you true crime readers, so I would highly recommend it. With that said, please comment, like, and subscribe. If you have read the book, please let me know your thoughts on the book itself. If you haven't read the book, please let me know if you found this insightful. If you have questions about the book itself, please let me know. Obviously, I've read it, so I could answer some questions for you if you still need more details about it before you make a decision, or while you're reading it, you can also send me some comments. Now that one's done, I didn't bring the book with me, but I did order The Iceman, which is about Kuklinski is his last name, basically a mafia hitman. It's also written by Carlo. By coincidence, I happened to see that and grabbed it, and I'm looking forward to reading that. I'm still reading some other science fiction, so those will probably come up next in any vlogs that I do in the future or the near future, and then I will throw in that Iceman Hitman book, because I watched an HBO special about him 10-15 years ago, and it was incredibly interesting. I'm not sure, but I believe that interview, or at least the book, was based off of that interview. I have to double check my sources, but I believe so. Anyhow, there's been movies about this guy. He's also a bad man. But very interesting story as well. So I am going to be looking forward to reading that. I'm still reading Dune, and I'm still reading Ready Player 2. I think that's it for today. So thank you very much for listening in. Please let me know if you have any questions, concerns, anything that I can help with regarding these books that I've mentioned, anything that I can help answer for you, either to make you decide on whether or not you want to read the book, or if you just want to discuss the book. I mean, I do that on my Bookstagram as well, and that's also by the same name, sci-fi.rose, so you can catch me on there. I think I'm equally active, which means not so much as I was in the past. I'm still trying to get my bearings on how I set up these videos. I know sometimes I say I'm gonna do a book a week, but then I start reading 2 to 3 books, so we shall see how that works out. And so thank you again for listening in. We will chat next time. See you on the next video.